The no frost, the music to Jeremy's ears.
Okay, I'm going.
Hi, Terry. Lovely to see you.
Hello, hello everyone.
Harry.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Always good to see you, Terry. All right, I'll just give it another minute or two just in case anyone else pops into the waiting room, and then I will begin sharing my screen so we can get tonight going. Let the celebrations begin. Thanks everyone for being on time tonight. Okay, Caitlin. All right. Hi, Caitlin. Thanks so much for joining.
Hello. There's a couple of others from our meeting coming over now. We were trying to be very punctual.
Good job. All right. Helen. Okay, I'm
Just
going
check if Catherine got the link.
sharing my screen.
I like your backdrop, Caitlin.
Okay. Screen. Okay. Here we go. I hope everybody can see that. All right. I'd just like to start by welcoming everyone to our ZerOctober Masterclass. My name is Claire. For those of you that don't know, I think everyone on the screen does know my name by now. And I'm the Events, Programs and Partnerships Manager at Vets for Climate Action. And I just wanted to let everyone know that this webinar is going to be recorded. So if you don't wish to be recorded, please just have your camera off. Please have your microphone muted during the presentation, and there will be time at the end of the presentation to ask questions. So either post any questions you may have in the chat window or leave them for the Q&A. If we do miss your question or if we run out of time, please email info@vfca.org.au. Sorry. Okay. Before I continue, I would like to acknowledge and pay respects to our First Nations people, past, present, and emerging. Traditional owners have cared for this country upon which we work and meet for over 60,000 years. Its lands, oceans, rivers, its trees, and wildlife. We endorse the Uluru Statement and acknowledge that this land has never been ceded. For those of you that may not know us yet, Vets for Climate Action is a movement of vets, vet nurses, practices, and industry partners across Australia who care deeply about protecting animals, people, and the environment from the impacts of climate change. At VFCA, we believe animals need a voice in the climate conversation, and we are proud to be that voice. We work every day to inspire and educate, both within the veterinary profession and in the broader community, by promoting sustainability and advocating for strong science-based climate action. Tonight, we will be wrapping up ZerOctober with a hands-on, practical, and inspiring session. This special event will help you turn your clinic sustainability goals into measurable action. Tonight is more than just one of our usual masterclasses. It's your chance to learn how to take meaningful, measurable climate action in your practice. Tonight, the team and I will guide you step by step through reading your bills so you can better understand your clinic's emissions and carbon footprint and track your progress throughout the year. I hope you brought your bills with you so you can compare your results in the next year's ZerOctober challenge. Whether your clinic is just starting your sustainability journey or already making strides, tonight will give you the tools and confidence to take the next step. Here is our agenda, and I'm just going to pass over to our wonderful CEO, Stephanie. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. First, we have a video from lovely Professor Mark Howden. Let's see. Sorry.
Good evening. I'm Emeritus Professor Mark Howden from Australian National University. Previously, I was a board member for Vets for Climate Action. I'm currently in Peru at an Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change meeting. Steph has asked me to say a few words to you on climate change. The evidence for human influence on the global climate is now unequivocal, and this change is accelerating. Greenhouse gas emissions continue to break records set just the previous year. These gases are accumulating in the atmosphere at record rates, leading to record temperatures.
We've lost the sound, I think, Claire.
This is impacting on pretty much everything we value, such as our health and livelihoods. And of course, our animals, both domestic and wild. There is lots that we can all do to reduce unwanted climate impacts on these animals in terms of both preparation, for example, improved shelter, clean water, and climate-sensitive care, and also with response and recovery after climate events. But unfortunately, we can't remove all of the suffering of affected animals. For example, in the recent Cyclone Alfred, an estimated 170,000 cattle and sheep died in Queensland alone. This is why we also have to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, so we put a stop to climate change. Vets for Climate Action has been a pioneer of this with the Climate Care program, which has shown that there are many ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from your practices. And they can also save money, improve care of the animals, and save waste. You have a lot to teach other professions. And of course, you can speak out and demand more action from business and government. I hope you have a great night celebrating the success of all of those taking real action. Good night. Buenas noches.
Great, thank you. And I'll pass over to our CEO, Stephanie Goldring now.
Thanks, Claire. Do you mind just stop sharing? And I can, because I don't have any slides. I thought I'd just talk. I will try and maybe spotlight myself so that I'm larger on the screen. Not that anyone needs to see me. But good evening to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our ZerOctober Masterclass in celebration of our Zero Heroes. For those catching on and catching up, ZerOctober is a Vets for Climate Action initiative to promote sustainable veterinary care and to celebrate the benefits of moving the entire veterinary profession towards zero. This is an opportunity for vet teams and industry professionals to share ideas, celebrate success, and promote the benefits of sustainability and a path to zero to ensure a better future for animal health. As you heard from Emeritus Professor Mark Howden, who is the Vice Chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and a former VFCA Board Director, the threat of climate change is real, and for many of you, you may have lived experience of this, so the timing is crucial. I'll send a big thanks to Mark in absentia. It's a difficult time zone for him to join live, so I so appreciate that he made the time during the busy IPCC agenda to record this for us. Mark has worked on climate variability, climate change, innovation, and adoption issues for over 36 years. He's addressed issues including agriculture and food security, the natural resource base, ecosystems, and biodiversity, just to touch on a few. And he's also the joint winner of the Nobel Peace Prize with Al Gore from, I want to say 1997 or 2007. My apologies for getting that wrong. I forgot to write it down. But while I'm saying thank you, I must also send a big thank you to our volunteers who have worked behind the scenes to engage their friends, their colleagues, you, on ZerOctober. Thank you to Jeremy, who's on the call and will be presenting later, Terry, who's also here, Annalise, and I'll also thank Claire from the team. Please let me know if I'm forgetting anybody. There have been phone calls to practices, emails, little nudges and big hints, and lots of time and passion for action to drive engagement. ZerOctober is a new initiative. It's only in its second year, and we need everyone spreading the word, those getting involved, those thinking about getting involved, and just sharing what steps you're taking. This year, our motto was every practice counts. I thought it was a clever pun, particularly because we're asking practices to count their gig, their grid energy, their isoflurane, and their gas. And by that, we mean LPG or methane gas. Natural gas as it's misnamed. And by measuring that, they can set a baseline. We hope to establish October or ZerOctober as Veterinary Sustainability Month every year, just as August is now known as Dental Care Month in Australia. We've had more practices join us this year from our stalwarts Brimbank Vet Clinic and Greater Springfield vets who were in last year's, to including now Grantham Street, Wattle Grove, Emergency Vets 24/7, Rochester and others, taking steps to measure their gig, organising sustainable team events, sharing news and information with their clients and many more. We invite all of you to jump on board at any time. There's no need to wait till next year. You can take steps at any stage. And because Mark outlined, the evidence for human-driven climate change is now unequivocal. But I want to stress, it's not all doom and gloom. Just as humans have contributed to the problem, we can and are contributing to the solution. In genuinely exciting news, for the first time ever, renewables overtook coal in Australia's main grid on a monthly basis. In September 2005, renewable energy, so solar, wind, hydro, produced 48.8% of our electricity, eclipsing coal at 47.6%. This isn't just a statistic, it's a turning point. And this is happening globally too. Solar and wind are now growing fast enough to meet the world's increasing energy demand. And a new report from the International Energy Agency calculates that the epic growth in renewable energy has substantially reduced fossil fuel imports for over 100 countries, including China, Brazil, India, Vietnam, Turkey, Japan, and most of Europe. Now, you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with veterinary medicine? The answer is, well, everything. Firstly, veterinary professionals want to engage with sustainability. A recent study found that 70% of veterinary clinic staff in the US feel it's important to know that their clinic strives to be environmentally sustainable. In the UK, 89% of veterinarians want to play a more active role in sustainability. Additionally, 65% of pet owners want to be informed about their veterinary clinic's environmental efforts, and over half would pay more for services from an environmentally conscious practice. For Gen Z, that number rises because younger clients are making more purpose-based choices. Vets for Climate Action's own little survey in 2023 to 24 provides similar statistics in Australia, which show, and our results showed that majority of respondents agree that it is important that their workplace take action on climate change. It's also worth noting that the Governance Institute of 2025, just in the last month, in their ethics index, they tell us something pretty remarkable, that 95% of animal owners trust veterinary professionals and 91% recognise vets as essential or very important to society. Vets are now the 5th most trusted profession in Australia, as they should be. And that trust isn't just about clinical experience. It's a platform for influence. It's a strong mandate to speak on the issue of sustainability and climate change that impacts the animals we love and care for. And finally, it relates to veterinary practice because I think it's really important to talk about One Health, which reminds us that human health, animal health, and environmental health are inextricably linked. Climate change doesn't just threaten ecosystem, it impacts the animals we care for. Shifting disease patterns, extreme weather events affect livestock and companion animals as well as wildlife. There's changing parasite distributions and heat stress, and these are all veterinary issues. So it's important that we, as the guardians of animal health and welfare, take action and support all efforts to increase sustainability. And the momentum is building. Major companies in the animal health sector are taking action. I'll mention a few of our partners who are doing some amazing things. So, for example, Zoetis has embedded sustainability in its operations, with over 80% of its global electricity now coming from renewable sources. Bova Oz is committed to addressing its packaging, implementing change at its canola-based sites, such as recycling, waste management, changing to renewable energy, supply chain analysis, with an overall aim of net zero by 2050. And like a pet food, sources 85 to 90%, 95% of its ingredients locally from Australian suppliers, which reduces transport emissions and supports local farmers. Their Sydney kitchen operates on solar power. They've eliminated 90% of single-use plastics, and they're partnering with Greenfleet to plant native trees that restore Australian ecosystems. These just aren't corporate initiatives. They're setting standards and creating pathways that veterinary practices of all sizes can follow. We're living in what many call the decisive decade or half decade for climate action. Australia has committed to reducing emissions to 62 to 70% below 2005 levels by 2035 and to net zero by 2050. The recent survey or ethics index shows that Australians expect urgent action, and they're placing increased responsibility on individuals, businesses, and governments. As trusted healthcare professionals with daily influence over countless decisions, from the products we recommend to the energy that we use, we have the opportunity and the obligation to be part of the solution. So we're delighted at Vets for Climate Action to drive initiatives like net zero, sorry, as net zero, ZerOctober. That's why we're here, because we want to get to net zero, and share how you can get involved and celebrate those in the profession who are doing their bit. So here's my challenge to you. Even if you haven't started, or maybe you're a long way through your journey, what will you do this week to move your practice towards greater sustainability? It could be as simple as starting a sustainability team in your clinic, could be following Jeremy's step-by-step instructions on reading your energy bills so that you can do a carbon audit. It could be tracking your progress through the year, or having conversations with your suppliers about sustainable alternatives. Remember, 95% of pet owners trust you, and that trust is power. Let's ensure that when our Gen Z veterinary students graduate, when people are bringing their pets to us, they inherit not just excellent animal care, but a healthier planet too. Because every practice counts. Healthy pets, healthy people, and a healthy planet aren't separate goals. They're inseparably connected through the work we do every single day. And that actually leads me on to our next speaker. I'm really pleased to introduce Vets for Climate Action's newest board director, Dr. Catherine Harper. Catherine is a veterinarian and business owner who operates 3 veterinary clinics in the Barossa Valley in South Australia. As the owner of Barossa Veterinary Service, she is a passionate, forward-thinking leader dedicated to inspiring change through advocacy and practical action within her team, the veterinary profession at large, and the broader community. For Catherine, her veterinary career is one where passion meets purpose, and she was recently honoured with the First Among Equals award as part of the 40 Under 40 Awards program. Catherine's taking sustainable steps in her own practice, and we look forward to hearing what she's doing and why action is so important for our animals, planet, and people. Over to you, Catherine.
Thanks, Steph, and thanks very much for having me here tonight. And so I have a much less polished brief to talk you through this evening. But I guess I wanted to start by saying I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to join the Vets for Climate Action board, and I'm very much still in the learning stages of what that looks like. And I think the thing that has really stood out to me was how I was not under any illusion about how big the problem and how interconnected it was, but my awareness of how involved Vets for Climate Action was across so many areas, and how big picture we're looking and how to make an impact is actually incredible. And I'm so excited to, really progress on this journey with the board and see how I can contribute, not with lots of big knowledge about climate action, but how working in business and being a business owner, I can bring that in really practical ways to how we can strategically think about helping people make change. And I've heard Jeremy speak before, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say tonight. So that's why I've joined the board. Looking forward to contributing. In terms of things we've done in our business, so we were a relatively early adopter in terms of completing the climate care program and engaging with that. And probably the biggest thing we've done is really get recycling going in our business. So everything, if it can be recycled, is recycled and separated. And clients regularly walk into our hospital and go, "What is going on? You've got all these bins," and separating it out. Certainly it hasn't been the most straightforward journey from a team perspective. Getting them on board was tricky, and especially day one when I said, "All right, it's team meeting, we're doing a bin audit," and giving them all masks and double gloves and going through and seeing what we're actually putting in our bins. But one of the things that really has come from all of our recycling is that where typically we were putting 3 to 4 bins of general rubbish out a week, that's down to consistently to 2. So we've halved our general waste, and often it's even less than that. So a lot is going into composting, but we separate all our soft plastics, and we've partnered with sustainable salons who collect that and repurpose it, as well as all our metal recycling. If you've not come across sustainable salons, they're not a vet-specific support. They're designed for hairdressers and beauty salons, but they take all of this product, recycle what's possible or on-sell it, and all of the proceeds go back to Oz Harvest to provide meals for those in need. So it's a really nice pairing. It helps us to be more sustainable, do our recycling, but also then help others. My other favorite part is we get to recycle all our pet hair, and that goes into making booms that help to absorb oil spills and things around the world. So, things that we would just normally put in the bin that you don't even think about can be having a really significant impact on improving our environment. The other big area, I guess, is the clinic. We kind of took it on, so we do all of that recycling. We also have a tree planting, I guess, program. Now, this does happen on my own property, but that's okay. It's a great team activity, and we've been able to grow our own and then plant 400 seedlings in the last 12 months. And we do this as a team wellness day activity. So, step one was filling all the little tube seeds, planting them, and then one of the team members cared for them until they were ready to plant out, and then we went out on the property for the day and planted them all, put the little tree guards on and mulched, with the plan that we will continue to do that each year from a revegetation process. And once my farm doesn't need any more trees, we'll look for somewhere else to be able to contribute it. So they're little steps on the journey, and there are many more things that we can do. We are in the process of building a new hospital, which has a lot more of the structural elements around sustainability built into it. So it will be having solar panels. We have a lot of the water saving and energy efficiency things built in terms of what we're using for lights and taps and all of this. And I know that it's a luxury that we have that because we're building a new facility, but we're really excited to see, how that does affect things like our energy usage on our bill, even though we're going to be in a much bigger building. So they're the bits and pieces we've tried in our clinic. There are more, of course, but I think, as Steph said, it's such a powerful thing to just do something because it can be overwhelming and it is a big challenge that we're all facing. But if we all do one little thing, then those little things add up and we know how much of a difference that can make. So really looking forward to hearing people's stories from ZerOctober. Thank you for being part of it, and thank you very much for having me on the board, and I look forward to where we can head soon.
Thank you so much, Catherine. So good to hear from you, and welcome aboard to the team. I'm just going to share my screen again for everyone. And we're just going to hear a short video from the one and only Sir David Attenborough. And then we're going to move on to our main guest, Dr. Jeremy Watson.
I'm very sorry I can't be with you all today at such an important gathering. Some have speculated that I've seen more of the natural world than anyone else. Well, it's certainly true that I have been extremely fortunate to spend my life traveling the world to film and share the wonders of nature. I've witnessed the natural world at its most fascinating and vibrant. But I've also witnessed startling changes that are today threatening our very civilizations. It's worth reflecting that our civilizations arose in large part because of the last 12,000-year period of climatic stability, known as the Holocene, which allowed humans to settle and farm. This stability ultimately gave rise to international trade in ideas as well as goods, making us the globally connected species we are today, and in need of the international governance that you and your institutions provide. However, we've taken that stability for granted. Our economies and political systems are unconsciously predicated on the belief that nature will continue to be a benign and regular provider of the conditions we need to thrive. Regular seasons, dependable fresh water, endless fish, pollinators, minerals, soil. It's now apparent that the Holocene has ended and our stable, reliable planet no longer exists. The impacts of this destabilization will profoundly impact every country on Earth. When you think about it, there is perhaps no more unsettling thought. The only conditions modern humans have ever known are changing and changing fast. You are all in positions where you can make more of a difference than most. If ever we needed a strong signal from world leaders, from people like you, that we're going to solve this, it is now. In 2020, we have a key moment in history. Some have called it a super year, a coming together of major global decisions on climate, nature, oceans, and development. It could not be more important and far-reaching. What we do in the next few years will determine the next few thousand years. Thank you for your leadership so far, and I wish you every success in inspiring other world leaders to join you in this vital task.
The man himself, Mr. David Attenborough, and even though this was filmed in 2019, absolutely everything he says still stands. Everything we do makes a huge difference. So I'm just going to stop sharing now and pass over to Dr. Jeremy Watson.
Thanks, Claire, and good evening, everyone. I'm just going to start sharing my screen. Is that going okay?
Yep, I can see that.
How's that? Is that good?
Great.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. And yeah, look, I guess what we're looking at is what we can do as vets, and overall the strategy of Vets for Climate Action is to get us to reduce our own emissions, to get our own house in order, but also to use our influence. And I think that has been touched on by what Steph said and Claire, and also Mark, and of course David. It all sort of fits together that we need to not only do more, but also use our influence. And I think that's a really important part of what we do as vets. What I'm going to focus on tonight is really very practical. It's looking at how you can measure your gig, your gas, your isoflurane and grid electricity, key component of your carbon footprint, and really the easiest place to start your carbon reduction journey in practice. So if we look at why gig, why we choose these three items, and really they're good because they're very easy to measure. It's easy to get the data. You have direct control over them, so you can make decisions to reduce these all pretty much to zero. And the good news is that there are existing solutions to get them to pretty much zero. And it's actually a significant amount of your carbon footprint. So the gig is actually about nearly a third of your carbon footprint, and you should be able to get that to pretty much zero if you implement the strategies that we start talking about tonight, and well on the way to aligning with the national ambition of a 45% reduction by 2030. You'll definitely save money. And I would also like to put in a little plug that it's gig and V. I'm sure Caitlin will probably point that out later. It's gig and vehicles, which is more the rural practices who have a number of vehicles. Maybe a few urban practices do, but typically this is focused on those three items because it's easy to place to start and it's easy to remember. So we'll start with gig, and people can add on vehicles if they have the capacity and appetite once they get a hang of just doing their gig. So to start your carbon journey, just looking at these three items, the first thing you need to do is gather together your energy bills, your isoflurane purchases. We'll input them into the carbon calculator, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then we're going to convert that to a total gig emissions, and then we'll adjust that to gigs per full-time vet equivalent. And this allows us to start comparing practice to practice of different size, and also enables you to compare your practice as it may grow year on year. And then the other thing we really want to do is to get practices to start sharing the results so that we can start to get that wider collaboration within the profession and start sharing ideas. Okay, so the first thing you do is to get hold of your gas bill. This is one from our practice a few years ago. And so I'm just going to step you through how you would actually collect the data and input it into the calculator that we have in the Climate Care program and also the Carbon Cost Saver. So if you look here, you can just, the first thing you do on this gas bill is look at the period that it covers, which is the first 2 months of gas use here. And then looking at the megajoules of gas use is the other number that you want to focus on. And the interesting thing about our calculator is we do need to convert that to gigajoules. So you need to divide those megajoules by 1,000 to give us the number of gigajoules. So once you've picked out these items, you can do the calculation and you'll get your 4.86 gigajoules for the first 2 months. Then you need to go and collect up the rest of the bills for the financial year. And we use our financial year as the reporting year rather than the calendar year because this aligns with the national mandatory climate reporting requirements. Also sits with your financial year reporting as well. Also enables you to have some time to get the data together so that you can present it each October and then review it and work out what you're going to do with the data and how you're going to reduce your emissions. So that's our gas. Then if we look at the second part of the gig, which is your isoflurane. And so in this example, we've got 20 bottles. So how did I find that out? Well, you can really just go to your practice management system or just even send an email to your drug wholesaler. They'll send you through the purchase details. So then you convert your 20 bottles, and typically an isoflurane bottle is 250 mils. So you multiply that out, and that gives us 5,000 mils of isoflurane used in a year in this situation, which is probably a smaller to medium size small animal practice. And then we're going to input that into the carbon calculator as well. So that's our I. And then lastly, our electricity, which is our grid electricity. And again, back to the period that we're looking at on our bill. And in this situation, it's just 1 month of electricity use there. You can see on the top left. Then we need to go down and pick out the number of kilowatt hours. Now, this may not be necessarily so straightforward on some bills, and you can actually see if I get my pointer. So I've got my pointer here. You can see there's actually 2 numbers here because there was actually a price change during the month. And so the price went up. And so there's 2 numbers here. You may also have, if you're on a different tariff at night, so you might see a couple of different numbers here, but you need to add these 2 together is probably the important thing to remember. And so that gives us 1,785 kilowatt hours just for 1 month. So then just like your gas bill, you need to add it all up. Remember, in this situation, our electricity bill is coming monthly, not 2 monthly like gas was. And again, we're sticking to the financial year. And so this is what we're going to input into our carbon calculator. So there are the 3 numbers, your gas, your isoflurane, and your grid electricity. Now I'll just try and see if I can bring up, if I can bring up the carbon calculator. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so can everyone see that? Is that good? Okay, so this is the carbon calculator that is in our carbon cost saver and also the climate care program in module 4. There's a little bit of preamble there, but what you need to do is go through to the inputs here and start inputting your data. And so you can see the data over on the left. So we're going to look at our gas. So transport fuels is really for those practices that have vehicles. So we'll skip over that. And so we can see here we've put in natural gas here. And there's a drop-down box so you can choose that. And the number of gigajoules. And then we've put in our 24.36. And you also need over here to put in your data source. So you'd put in, you might just put in here bills. So that you know next year when you go back to someone else is doing it, they know where they got the information from. Then we're going to go and put in our electricity grid. And in this situation, we've got 48,661. So we're going to put that in as the kilowatt hours. Put that in there. And again, from our bills, Okay, and then moving down here, we're going to go to our synthetic gases. Now, there's a whole lot of these you'll find in here, but the only one that's probably the one that's most relevant, of course, is our isoflurane or anesthetic gases. And so to find that amongst all these refrigeration gases, which are not significant enough to worry about in small animal practice, we're going to go right down the bottom here to isoflurane, and then we're going to put in our 5,000 mils here. And we need to go over here and put in our data source, which is a practice management system. And we also need to put in type here. So just let me move over a little bit. It's important to do this, otherwise it won't do the calculation. So it's an anesthetic gas. I'll put that in there. And then we can look at our outputs, and it's already done the calculation for us. And you can see that the gig for this practice over here is 44 tons. It breaks it into scopes. So your isoflurane and your gas is a scope 1 emission, and then scope 2 is your grid electricity. And if you want to scroll down a little bit here, you can actually see the individual amounts here. Maybe if I get my laser pointer again. Actually, it's not going to work on this. So you can see that it's 1.2 tons of gas. We actually don't use huge amounts of gas in small animal practice, mainly just for hot water heating and some for central heating. But our grid electricity is the big one, 39 tons there. And then if you go down to your isoflurane, we've got nearly 3.6 tons there. So that really gives you an idea of the breakdown in terms of tons of emissions. And this is the idea of the whole net zero strategy, is to look at all the waste streams in your practice. And we've just looked at 3 of them here and how much carbon emissions they generate. And then we're going to use the carbon emissions of various waste streams, and you can start adding in your vehicles, your pets cremation, your purchases of consumables, etc. As you get better at this, start adding those in and then picking ones that you can start reducing, and you can actually measure your progress using your carbon measurement. So net zero is a really good way of implementing those SMART goals, those specific, measurable, achievable, I forget what the R is, and then time-sensitive goals that enable you to facilitate better management. So we'll just go back to okay, so there's the 3 numbers that we inputted into the carbon calculator. And then the next thing is reporting. And the other thing is to report to your team and to management. So we've got our total, which is 44 coming out of the calculator. But it's also important to, I think, calculate and report according to the number of vets in the practice. So if you have your 44 tonnes in a 5-vet practice, that works out at 8.87 tonnes per full-time vet. And this enables comparison between practices and also comparison from year on year as you grow. And then we also want people to report to ZerOctober so that we can start comparing who did what, who did better, and start sharing ideas as to how we can all do better and get these numbers down over time. And then the other thing we want to do is get people to start repeating this annually. So we really want you to set up a folder in your practice management system that collates all the information so that as staff change over time, they know where to go and it's all set up to go. So that's really important in that first year. That's why we want to keep it pretty simple, just 3 items, but it's about setting up the systems to keep doing it year on year. So it's really an annual process that we're going to do all the way through to 2050 and beyond. And I've just quickly, just I hope I haven't gone over time too much, thrown in some solutions. And it's really about, as David Attenborough said, getting off fossil fuels. So going all electric with renewables, green power, an energy efficiency audit so you don't have to use as much of green power if you've got to pay a bit more for it. EVs is an obvious one. And then if your practice has capacity, the rooftop solar and batteries is an obvious financial saving now, but also a significant emissions reduction. And we've got things like the virtual power plants, which are becoming popular. And then your isoflurane reduction, I'd like to direct you to the VFCA Masterclass with Donna White. You can get it, access it on our website. It's an excellent resource and it gives you a whole lot of tips about how you can start reducing your isoflurane. And then recently we had the Green Theatre checklist coming out of the UK from Vet Sustain. And that's a fabulous resource that's got a whole lot of things that you can do around your operating theatre to reduce your consumables and emissions. So really that wraps up the practical side of measuring your gig. So I'm happy to, if anyone wants to even send me their bills, I'm happy to run them through the calculator and give you an assessment so you can get started and get a feel for where the carbon emissions are coming from in your practice. All right, so that's all from me, Claire. I'll stop sharing and head back to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. I'm just going to pop your email in the chat for people that are on this call, just so they have access to your email if they do want you to do that for them. Thank you so much. I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen. Bear with me while I get that. Here we go. Sorry, one moment. Oh, there we go. So this is what Jeremy was talking about just then. This is how you can see the difference from year to year there. Jeremy, did you want to talk on this, or shall we move on to our Zero Hero Awards? Oh, you're on mute, Jeremy, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Claire. Yeah, so I can just quickly talk to this. So this is the kind of idea that we want to build on over time is a register. We have a number of other practices involved in this at the moment. And so we're just, getting together the data this month. So we should expand this over the next few weeks. But really idea is to set a baseline year. So that's really the first year that you do your reporting. And then once you've done your first year, you can start doing your year-on-year comparisons. And it's not a bad idea to have a few comments so that people can run their eyes down and see, oh yeah, okay, solar panels is a common theme, or someone's done an isoflurane reduction system, or whatever. So that's the idea there, and just be mindful that it's not your total carbon footprint, it's just your gig, which is really your key scope 1 and 2, but it's the best place to start. And then once we get the hang of it, we're hopefully getting more practices that will move on to a full carbon footprint audit, and then ultimately looking to, once they've done as much emissions reductions as possible, to get some carbon credits. And we're really sort of favouring carbon credits that would assist biodiversity restoration as being the priority. So companies like Greenfleet, who do a lot of biodiversity restoration, and again, back off what David Attenborough said, that really we need to try and do as much as we can, particularly as vets, and our mission to do better for animal health, particularly wildlife, is about biodiversity restoration. So that's one way that you can support that, is through carbon credits. And really that's only for maybe the last 10% of your emissions is the ideal thing in theory at the moment. So looking forward to getting a few more over the next few weeks. We know there's some in the pipeline, and I want to build this year on year to get that rhythm of the annual carbon audit going. Okay, thanks, Claire. I'll go back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Okay, drum roll. We have our Zero Hero Awards coming up. So our first Zero Hero of the Year award goes to an Outstanding Individual Effort Award, recognizes an individual who has gone above and beyond to champion sustainability and climate action. This person's dedication and leadership has inspired others and reflected the true spirit of October. Put your hands together for Shalini from Greenbank.
Hi, my name is Zee, and today's my first day as a vet nurse at the Greenbank Vet Clinic. And what drew you to Greenbank Vet Clinic? How did you welcome to our clinic? Well, I've heard they've been doing some amazing things about climate action to help meet the Earth. Instead of using plastic drinks, we're using cloth drinks. How simple! So we don't actually use a lot of isoflurane anymore due to our treatment protocol.
Yeah, well, we've just installed solar panels on our roof. We've gotten rid of all of our gas appliances. We've gone to all electric, which is not only saving us money, but it's reducing emissions on the planet. How's that?
So, Eve, how was your first day? So amazing. Thank you to all the clinics that are striving to make a better future for everyone. I hope that your kindness and passion inspires other clinics to do the same.
Well done. So that was our first Zero Hero Award. Unreal. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Our next Zero Hero Award is for a Sustainable Practice Award awarded to a clinic that has demonstrated significant progress in reducing its environmental impact. From practical waste reduction to energy efficiency and team engagement, this clinic leads by example, proving that sustainable practice is achievable and impactful. Congratulations, Grantham Street.
I think we've got some sound problems there, Claire. A huge congratulations to Grantham Street. And our third Zero Hero of the Year Innovation Award. This award recognizes a clinic or individual that has taken a creative and forward-thinking approach to reducing waste or emissions through inventive solutions, new ideas, or fresh ways of working. They've shown that innovation can drive meaningful environmental impact, inspiring others to think outside the box for a more sustainable future. Congratulations, Wattle Grove Veterinary Hospital. This one goes out to you. So they've done waste audits and e-waste audits and a whole range of different audits. So a huge congratulations to the entire team at Wattle Grove Veterinary Hospital. Well done to you guys. Our fourth Zero Hero of the Year award is our Team Spirit Award, and this award celebrates the power of collaboration, recognizing a group or clinic that has worked together with enthusiasm, creativity, and shared purpose to achieve sustainability goals. Through teamwork, communication, and collective effort, they have shown that meaningful change happens when everybody gets involved. Congratulations to Emergency Vets 24/7 up in Cairns. These guys did an entire beach cleanup with the whole team and had a fantastic response from the community. So a huge congratulations to Emergency Vets up in Cairns. Well done. Okay, that wraps up our Zero Hero Awards for this evening. I would love to be able to get a group photo of everybody. So if you feel comfortable turning on your camera, I would love if we could all have a big group photo that we'll share with our audience. And this is just the beginning of ZerOctober. So I'll count down from 3, 2, 1, ZerOctober! Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now I'm just going to share my screen again and get back into the presentation. Okay. I just wanted to thank everybody for attending our masterclass tonight. I will be uploading this recording to our website and YouTube channel. I really hope it was insightful and you really got something valuable from it. We expect to see you all registering your emissions next year.
As Zero October comes to a close, I would love to remind you that every small action adds up to a lasting change. And together we're building a veterinary community that leads by example, one that protects animals, people, and the planet. Thank you for being part of this journey towards a more sustainable future. Please join us and Climates for Change on Thursday, November 6th for an online webinar presented by Mike McEvoy, where through a series of engaging activities, real-life examples and guided practice in small breakout rooms, you'll learn how to navigate tricky topics and respond to common climate questions and reactions. Learn from skepticism and apathy to doomism and denial. Share your own authentic climate story in a way that motivates and inspires others, and break through the climate silence by turning everyday conversations into powerful opportunities for change. You can head to our website to register and stay tuned for our next masterclass, which will be on Thursday, 20th of November, with the wonderful Dr. Caitlin Pfeiffer. That will be on our website tomorrow for you to register, with details coming in hot. And this, please don't forget about our climate care program. You can view that from our website as well, or scan the QR code on the screen. We'd love you to volunteer with us. Some of our volunteers are on the call tonight, and we honestly could not have done Zero October without their hard work and dedication. So thank you so much to our incredible volunteers that make VFCA what it is. And Jeremy, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation tonight. A huge congratulations to everyone, and a very happy Zero October. All right.
Thanks, Claire. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. And yes, some wonderful initiatives coming from our Zero Heroes. We look forward to hearing more. And I know that on our social media, so on Facebook and Instagram, a number of our participants are sharing what they're up to. So jump online and check that out as well.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Steph. And I just wanted to know, does anyone have any questions for Jeremy or myself or Steph or any of our volunteers tonight? We did promise questions at the end. Apologies for that. So if you do have any, please feel free to pop them in the chat or turn yourself off mute and ask away. Very clear with all the information tonight then, I gather. Please feel free to email your questions through to info@vfca.org.au or to Steph or Jeremy or myself, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. And once again, just before I close the Zoom room, Jeremy's email is in the chat there if you did want him to do your Zero October.
And a big thank you to Catherine Harper, our newest board member. I put her on the spot. She delivered and shared her wonderful sustainability journey. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Oh, wonderful. All right. Thanks, team. See you all on in November.